video we're going to go over dumbbell deadlift with a modified depth variation. So we're not going to go as deep as a traditional dumbbell deadlift, but this is a good way to start working into getting into a weighted hip hinge, or one of many ways. But usually, if I am giving you this video, it's because we have taken the time to do it together, and I feel as though it is safe to do at home, especially with lighter weights. So starting with 5, 10 pounds max in each dumbbell. I always recommend to do a body weight hip hinge motion first, just to kind of warm up the body and let it know, it's a very hip driven exercise. It's not knee driven, it's not low back driven. It is purely coming from this hip crease where you push back like you're going to push your butt back against the wall behind you. So as far as setup itself, have your feet like about hip width distance apart. You don't want it to be too wide or too narrow. I would say, a little wider than hip width distance apart. Toes can be slightly pointed outward if that's just more comfortable for your anatomy. Always like to use the cue of keeping the balls of your feet down, but you're going to lift all your toes, spread them as wide as you can, tack them down into the ground. Now you have a nice tripod position of your foot. And from there, I want you to screw your feet into the ground. So you're screwing them outward, and that causes the knees to kind of rotate out. So it's not driving the knees out, it's rotating the entire leg so that you feel the glutes turn on and maybe even some hamstrings turn on. So be aware of your pelvic position too. You don't want to be overly anteriorly tilted, tipped forward, and you don't want to be too tucked. You want to be somewhere in the middle. Again, a lot of cues, but this is a great foundation. Tripod foot, rotating the legs to get the glutes, the posterior chain activated. And as far as the upper body to brace the upper back and to brace the lats, is to picture you squeezing a small orange. I know it sounds silly, but it makes sense once you try it. Squeeze a small orange between your armpits. So that is going to brace you there. Don't let that orange fall. The weight, whenever you do hinge back, just let gravity guide that movement. You don't want to be holding it out in front of you. You want it just a plumb line straight down. Okay, again, revisiting, lift, spray, bridge to toes, tripod foot position. Screw the feet into the ground. You should feel your arch lift. And both feet, glutes activated, pelvis is neutral, core is braced. You are breaking from the hips first, not the lower back, because the pelvis is locked, but you're going to push your butt back. You should feel even more tension in your legs generating. Keep your chest up, coming down. Let the weight of gravity bring the weights down. It's okay if your knees stay bent, especially if you have tight hamstrings. And then push the ground away from you. Pushing the ground away from you is such a good cue, because a lot of times what we want to do first is move from the back to come back up to a standing position. That usually fatigues the lower back. It usually causes injury. It's one of those things, your back is resilient, but it shouldn't be the prime mover of this movement. It should be the glutes, it should be the legs, it should be the quads, the hamstrings. So again, coming back down into the bottom position, leg press, the ground away. Everything's locked in from the waist up. And then what the difference is that you're pushing the ground away, and then you stand tall. So that's the deadlift. It's a lot of cues from the ground up. Think feet first, tripod position, lift, spread, reach to toes. Screw the feet to engage external rotators, to get the glutes ready to go. It's in a powerful position. Break from the hips. Make sure your core is braced, not overly braced like you're about to lift 500 pounds, you're lifting only 20 pounds. Make sure to brace accordingly. And then leg press the ground away from you. So again, it's a lot. Review this video a few times. If you have questions or something doesn't make sense or doesn't feel right, let me know. Please be wary, not wary, but please be wise about what weight you choose to use. You always want to know what you feel like 24 hours from now, 48 hours from now, especially if this is a movement you're just now working back into before you decide to add more weight. Form is always the most important. Make sure and check in with your body, make sure you're good, and then we can progress from there.